Happy Tuesday, everyone. We have a nice little sprint chipper coming at you guys today. Before we get to that, let's talk about our warm-up, and we'll get you guys on the ball here for this one. Today, what we have, a nice little lower body and upper body kind of rotational warm-up. We have a good morning, wide stance good morning for 5 to 10, into a dynamic triangle for 3 to 5 per side, into a single leg RDL for 5, one, loaded or unloaded, it's up to you, and then a windmill for 3 to 5 a side. We haven't done these a lot, but I'll review some stuff with you guys and take it down. 2 rounds of that. We'll then move into a little squat warm-up. Sumo squat for 5 at a 3-1-3. Bridge for 20, loaded or unloaded. Narrow stance squat for 5 at a 3-3-3. Single leg bridge for 5 a side, and then a foot assisted pistol for 5 to 7 per side at a 3-0-3 tempo. So we're going to take them pretty slow, and then 2 to 3 rounds. After you've done that mid piece, you're just going to practice around the sumo deadlift high pull and whatever squat you're going to choose in today's workout. Today's workout consists of 2 movements. It's going to be a nice little chipper style, descending ladder, which is going to be a dumbbell sumo deadlift high pull with 50 reps into 20 dumbbell squats, dumbbell sumo deadlift high pull, 30 reps, and then dumbbell squat for 10. The dumbbell squat can be any kind of squat variation you like. Front squat, goblet squat, single arm, whatever you want to take down today, you can kind of play around with that a little bit and see where it takes you. But let's get you warmed up, ready for action, and have some fun today. All right, let's get those feet underneath those hips. We'll take the arms big and tall up overhead. We'll reach over to one side. We're going to come back through to the other side. We come back to center. We're going to give ourselves a little shrug. We come back down with the arms, forward fold. We're going to touch those toes. Walk up the shins. We're going to come down, frame a foot, and we'll step back into our lizard. We're going to get squared up in those hips. We're going to take the inside hand up all the way to the sky. We're going to bend at the elbow and then reach straight ahead. And then pull back. And then reach straight ahead. And pull back. And reach straight ahead. And pull back. We're going to reach up. And we'll go 1 rotation, forearm to the floor, as close as you can. And then come back up to the sky. Plant the hand, we'll step back into our down dog, just setting those shoulders up, settling in there at the ankles. We'll come back into our plank, step the other foot up into our nice lizard. And then we take our inside hand up again, big reach, bend at the elbow, reach straight ahead, pull back, reach straight ahead, pull back, reach straight ahead, and pull back, big reach. 1 rotation, forearm down to the floor. We'll take it up, and we'll plant that hand, and then step back into our down dog once again. From here, we'll come back into our plank, tiptoe those feet all the way up. We're going to roll ourselves all the way overhead, give ourselves a little shrug, set those shoulders, come down, and let's get you guys fired up and ready to go. All right. Pause the video if you want to do some cat-cow curls, maybe some more upper body stuff after yesterday. Take your time, take her down, pause the video, come back to me when you're ready to move on to that next phase. So our next phase of work is going to start off with some wide stance good mornings. So I'm going to get my stance pretty wide. So toes slightly turned out, nice long stance that I want to do a side lunge with. I'm going to squeeze my glutes, and I'm going to pull my hips back, keeping my knees soft and my weight through my midfoot. So it's really hard sometimes to keep that big toe down. We're going to try and keep that big toe down and our flat foot contact the entire time for that stance. I can turn to the side so you can see that hinge. So I'm going to try and squeeze, I'm going to pull my hips as far back as I can, keeping my center mass over top that midfoot. My back is super flat. I'm going to stand up tall, squeeze and open my hips, and then repeat. So take your time with those. Don't rush those movements. Really draw back, feel those hamstrings, and then feel that nice extension at the top. After our wide stance good morning, our feet are going to come into our sumo stance. I'm going to turn one toe to the side, the other toe on an angle. My hand's going to come to my thigh. The other hand's going to come up to the sky. And I can load this if I'd like or not. And I'm going to pull my hip back, tracing down as deep as I can. So I have my hand stacked over my shoulder, over hand. And then we're going to come back up with a good squeeze. And the entire time, my shoulder stays in the same position and the arm is always pointing up to the sky. So regardless of where I go in range of motion, I'm always trying to keep that stacked position and that arm up to the ceiling. When I transition sides, make sure my width is proper so I can get that proper hinge position and I'm not getting stuck too narrow and then I get stuck in that position. So always take that extra moment just to make sure you have that good width for your feet on both sides. After that, we have our single leg RDL. And you can do this loaded or not, or add load in the coming rounds of the warm-up. But what we're gonna do again, we've been playing with this option in terms of setup and start position. So my toe is gonna be behind, loosely planted into the ground. I'm gonna hold my hands or my dumbbell to the front, and I am going to pull my hips back, just like I did in my wide stance good morning. I'm gonna take my hands to my knees, keeping my back in that good deadlift position. I'm gonna stand. I can also do this by allowing that leg to come up off the floor and work a little bit of balance, but I still wanna make sure I'm in that same deadlift back position and I'm getting that same hinge as I would with my foot on the floor. I want you to choose the option that's going to allow you to get the best and most sensation through your glutes and hamstrings. So it's okay to challenge your balance, but if you're not feeling your hamstring engage or your glute engage, we want to drop the toe down for a little bit, build that familiarity and that hinge pattern before we take the foot off the ground. After that, once we've done 5 per side, loaded or run, we're going to move into the windmill. And the windmill is kind of a strange movement. My feet are going to go anywhere from a sumo stance to a squat stance. And what I'm going to do, you can alternate arms, but I'm just going to show you 3 on one side and 3 on the other. I'm going to set up with my arm in a good overhead position. I don't have a weight here. It can be loaded, but you don't have to. I'm going to pull my hips back like a good morning, and then I'm going to rotate, bringing my hand in between my feet, and I'm trying to keep my shoulder in that good overhead position. So I am going to rotate a bit. My arm is going to kind of open up to the side a bit. The thing we want to stay away from is this big internally rotated position. We want to try and keep that shoulder as solid as we can in that position we were in for our dynamic triangle. So if you feel yourself starting to rotate inwards, stop your range. It doesn't have to get to the floor. All right, just take it to where you can maintain position. You'll do 3 to 5 per side, all right? And then you'll switch sides. If you'd like to alternate in between, you can. Just make sure you're setting yourself up well. It's the same hip hinge as my good morning, just with a little bit of rotation as we open up to the side. So take your time, move slow with that, and it's probably the best idea just to keep that unloaded in the beginning until you can get all the way to the floor with that nice solid shoulder position. As a quick recap, wide stance good morning for 5 to 10, dynamic triangle for 3 to 5, single leg RDL for 5 per side, and that windmill 3 to 5 a side. 2 rounds of that. Take your time, warm up that body, get that rotation going, get those hamstrings warmed up, and then we'll move into the next phase. So pause the video, take that down. We're going to move into the next phase, which is going to do a little bit more squatting and a little bit more glute activation. So our first exercise is our sumo squat. So I come back to that sumo stance, toes are turned out slightly. All my normal squat mechanics are applied here, except again, pressing the knees out a little bit more than you normally would in a squat with a regular stance, because we want those knees to track the toes. So I pull my hips down towards my heels, press my knees out, I still have flat foot contact, my body stays upright the entire time, and I find my position. So again, I'm going to turn to the side so you can see I'm in my sumo stance, my hips go towards my heels, I push my knees out, I keep my body upright in that good squat stance position, and then I stand, shoulders and hip rise together. Take your time, there's a 3-1-3 tempo on that. We're really focusing on opening up the hips and ankles for what's to come in our workout. After we're done our sumo squat, I'm gonna lay down on the floor and I'm gonna work through my bridges. So my heels are gonna be just outside my fingers. I can load this with a dumbbell on my hips or whatever I have at home, apparatus-wise, or I can just do it empty-handed and focus on squeezing through the glutes to open up the hips and then lower down. My ribs stay in, I squeeze up, activating through my glutes, and I come back down. And I'm gonna work on just a little pause at the top, a little pause at the bottom, so that we can isolate and focus our attention to our glutes. So if you're not feeling your glutes say hi, really thinking squeeze, and then continue on, all right? You don't actually have to say that out loud, just imagine my voice in the background, and that'll work just fine. After those bridges, we move into our narrow squat stance. So we're gonna pull our feet anywhere inside of my normal squat stance. So they don't have to be right together, but anything inside my normal squat stance. And it's the same mechanic. So I'm gonna take my hips towards my heels, trying to keep my chest up, my knees track the toes. I'm gonna feel it a little bit more down the front of my shin than my other squats, because it's gonna really focus on focusing on those and forcing those ankles to open up a bit. So I'm only gonna take it down as deep as I can maintain position, especially for that back position. So I wanna make sure that I'm keeping that back nice and extended, nice and long. I don't want you to come down and just go and round out. All right, I want you to stay in this extended position and take it to that depth. Again, there's a tempo on this one, 3-3-3, so a little longer hold in the bottom, just again to work on the ankle mobility and opening up those shins. From there, we're gonna come back to the floor, and we're gonna work on our single leg bridge. In our single leg bridge, same setup as our 2-foot bridge, except I'm gonna set up, lifting a foot up, either bent, straight on an angle, straight up to the sky, whatever's easiest for you. I'm gonna press my hands gently into the floor, and I'm gonna squeeze my glutes to lift up, level hip, and then lower down. I squeeze, lift, lower down. Squeeze, lift, lower down. And again, like our 2-foot bridge, I'm gonna focus on a little pause at the top, a little pause at the bottom, so I can make sure I'm not using momentum, and that I own both parts of the movement, the top, the mid, and the bottom. So I wanna make sure that I'm moving well, and I'm moving with control the entire time. After that, we move into this lovely foot-assisted pistol. And it's gonna kind of challenge us in a few different ways. Mobility, strength, balance, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna get my foot set up. I'm gonna take my other toe behind, like we set up for our single leg RDL, except this time, I'm gonna focus on my squat. So I'm gonna take it down like a squat, taking my hip to my heel, or as deep as I can. So it's that nice little squat, and then I'm gonna stand through that balancing leg. This leg here is just there to give us a little support and a little help if we need it. What we're trying to do though is focus all that awareness to that leg that we're balancing on. So I focus all my weight over top of that leg as deep as I can make it down, and then I push through that leg. It's flat and I'm balancing on. So I want to focus my attention to that, and that's why we have our 303 tempo, so we can really take the time to drive through that leg, find that good position all the way down. We're not rushing and losing position and perhaps falling over or dumping the knee inwards. We're taking our time. I want you to keep an eye on this one as well. If you're taking it down and you find that you're like, I can only get to here, that's okay. Just take it to the range that you can maintain control and balance with, and over time, that'll get lower and lower. But I only want you to work to your edge and where you can control your movement. Quick recap for that work set. We have a sumo squat for 5 at a 3-1-3 tempo, a bridge for 20, loaded or unloaded, narrow stance squat for 5 reps at a 3-3-3 tempo, single leg bridge for 5 reps per side, and a foot-assisted pistol for 5 to 7 per side at a 303. 2 to 3 rounds there. Take some time to warm that up, have some fun with it. Then we move into our little practice round. And that's where we're gonna get the dumbbell out. So I have my dumbbell here. If I have 2 dumbbells, that's excellent. We can use 2 dumbbells for the squat, but we are sticking to 1 dumbbell for the sumo deadlift high pull. So I'm gonna set myself up over top of the dumbbell. I'm gonna show you a deadlift first, and then the high pull separate, and then we'll join them together. So these 2 movements create 1. So I get set up in that good deadlift back position. I stand up to my hip, and then my high pull, I pull that elbow high and outside so the dumbbell comes to the sternum. Now, In our workout, we're using this as a fluid motion, so we're using the legs as momentum to get that dumbbell moving so we don't have to overstress the arm. So in the workout, it will look like this. I come from wherever my floor position happens to be, I stand up, and I let that leg and that hip extension bring the dumbbell up, and then I come back down. I don't have to hold it up here at any point. I just hit that top position and let it come back down with control. So I get a nice smooth flow all the way through, trying to use my legs and hips to get the dumbbell moving. A couple things to look out for is this. So I stand and I start to pull too soon. I want to make sure that the hips and knees are open first before I start using the arm. The arm is really only used to continue the momentum and keep the dumbbell close. Quick little side profile view of a few reps. I take it back and down so I have my good deadlift back position. I stand up, come back down, stand up, come back down, stand up, and I use that momentum to get the dumbbell moving. So in that, for our sumo deadlift high pull, we're going to do 5, flip sides 5, flip side 5, until we've done the desired repetitions in the work set. In our warm-up, just practice a couple rounds of 5 per side, just to get a good flow. If you want to break it down, depending on how heavy your kettle or your dumbbell is, please do so. But this exercise, definitely if you have 2 sets of dumbbells, can be on the lighter side. It's not meant to be super heavy, so keep it to the lighter, or if you want to go heavier on the dumbbell squat, do that. The dumbbell squat can be one of 2 things. It can be a goblet squat, so same mechanics apply as my regular squat stance and regular squat mechanics. So my hips draw to my heels, my chest stays upright, my knees track the toes. Or I can work on my single arm front squat. Same mechanics for my squat, except I'm pressing into the dumbbell a little bit more. Or I can do a double dumbbell front squat. So same, right? Same rules apply. It's up to you on what you want to work. Pick it going into the work set and say, you know what, today I kind of want to work on that single arm. Or, no, I kind of want to work on my goblet squat today. Whatever you want to work on, make it yours. Pick your own adventure on this one and enjoy. What we have for the workout is sumo deadlift high pull for 50 total reps. So you'll take down 5 per side until you hit 50. Then you'll move directly into 20 squats, or 20 squats, or 20 squats. 30 sumo deadlift high pulls, and then 10 dumbbell squats. And it's just gonna be one time through, nice little sprint chipper, working for quality, speed, enjoy. All right, it's gonna be a good little hip burner, good little leg burner. Try and keep the pace nice and steady so you can flow right from the sumo into the squat if you can, but have fun with it and really focus on that quality aspect, you guys. Back position for the sumo, good squat mechanics, and like I say, have fun, work for quality, and enjoy. All right? Until next time, we will see you very, very soon. Enjoy this little sprint chipper, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, you guys.